Captain Jake Morrison pressed his forehead against the cold metal wall of the observation deck. The stars outside looked peaceful, but peace made him nervous. His hands shook as he tried to light his third cigarette in 10 minutes. The flame kept going out because his fingers would not stay still. "Sir, the briefing starts in 5 minutes," said Lieutenant Commander Ryan Brooks from behind him. The young man's voice was calm and respectful, but Jake could hear the worry underneath. "Be there," Jake said, without turning around. He needed just 1 more minute to get his breathing under control. His heart was beating too fast again, like it did every time they talked about meeting the aliens. The U's horizon was humanity's pride and joy. The ship was massive, built for exploring deep space and making first contact with other species. Jake had been chosen to lead this mission because of his war record. 3 major conflicts on Earth, dozens of medals, hundreds of successful operations. On paper, he was the perfect choice. In reality, Jake felt like a fraud. He walked to the briefing room, his boots making sharp sounds on the metal floor. The sound reminded him of soldiers marching, which reminded him of the wars, which made his chest feel tight. Everything reminded him of the wars these days. The briefing room was full of his best officers. Commander Alex Rodriguez sat at the front table looking over maps of alien space. Alex had fought beside Jake in the Resource Rebellion of 2094. They had saved each other's lives more times than either could count. Alex was the only person on the ship who knew about Jake's problems. Navigator Helen Price was studying star charts with her usual careful attention. She was young, maybe 28, and had never seen real combat. Jake envied her calm confidence. Dr. Lisa Chang, the ship's psychologist, sat near the back, watching everyone with her sharp eyes. She had been asking Jake too many questions. "Lately, good morning, everyone," Jake said as he took his place at the head of the table. "Today we discuss our approach to the Zephyrian homeworld." The Zephyrians were humanity's first alien contact. They had appeared in Earth's solar system 6 months ago, sending peaceful messages and requesting a meeting. They claimed to represent something called the Alliance, a group of species that work together for peace and progress. "The Zephyrians have confirmed our meeting time," said Ryan, reading from his tablet. "Their main ship will dock with us in 48 hours. Ambassador Kethfer will lead their delegation." Jake nodded, but his mind was somewhere else. He was thinking about the last time he had prepared for a meeting with strangers. It had been during the Unity campaign, right before the battle at New Chicago. The enemy had requested peace talks, but it had been a trap. 30 good soldiers had died, because Jake had trusted the wrong people. Sir Alex was looking at him with concern. "You were saying about security protocols?" Jake realized he had been quiet for too long. Everyone was staring at him. His shirt felt damp with sweat despite the cool air in the room. Jake cleared his throat. "I want double guards at all entry points. Full weapon scans for all alien visitors. No exceptions." Dr. Chang spoke up from the back. "Captain, the Zephyrians have been very cooperative. They've shared detailed information about their biology and culture. There's no indication of hostile intent." "There never is," Jake said, his voice harder than he intended. "Until there is." The room went quiet. Jake could see his officers exchanging glances. Helen Price was making notes, probably writing down everything he said for her official reports. That made him more nervous. "The Zephyrians don't even carry weapons," said Ryan carefully. "According to their transmissions, they're crystalline beings that communicate through sound frequencies. They don't have the biology for violence." Jake's hands clenched into fists under the table. "Everyone has the biology for violence when they need it. We're not taking any chances." Alex leaned forward. "Jake, maybe we should discuss this privately." Later, but Jake was already standing up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. The sudden noise made him jump, which made him angry at himself. "The briefing is over. Everyone prepare for contact protocols. That's an order." The officers filed out slowly, confused by the abrupt ending. Alex stayed behind, waiting until the room was empty. "You're scaring them," Alex said quietly. "Good. Scared people stay alive. This isn't a war zone, Jake. These aliens want to be friends." Jake laughed, but there was no humor in it. "That's what they all say. Remember the peace talks at Denver? Remember what happened to Captain Morris when he trusted the wrong intel? That was different. That was Earth. These are aliens from another star system who traveled here to offer us membership in their alliance. Different how? People are people. Aliens are probably the same. Alex stood up and walked around the table. He was one of the few people who could get close to Jake when he was like this. You haven't been sleeping again. It wasn't a question. Alex knew all the signs. Jake's eyes were red and tired. His uniform was wrinkled like he had slept in it. His hands kept moving, checking his pockets for weapons that weren't there. Sleep fine, Jake lied. When was the last time you took a full night's rest without nightmares? Jake turned away. He couldn't remember. The dreams came every night now. Sometimes he was back in the trenches during the water wars. Sometimes he was watching his squad die in the Resource Rebellion. Sometimes he was leading the final assault in the Unity campaign, stepping over the bodies of friends and enemies alike. The nightmares don't matter, Jake said. What matters is keeping this crew safe. From what? The Zephyrians have been nothing but helpful. They've answered every question we've asked. They've provided us with star maps and cultural guides. They even sent us recordings of their music. Dr. Chang appeared in the doorway. Excuse me, Captain. Could I speak with you privately? Jake's whole body tensed. He had been avoiding the ship's psychologist for weeks. Every time she asked to talk, he found an excuse to be somewhere else. I'm busy, Doctor. It will only take a few minutes. It's about the upcoming first contact procedures. Alex gave Jake a meaningful look. I'll see you later, Captain. Try to get some rest. When Alex left, Dr. Chang closed the door behind him. The small room suddenly felt much smaller. Captain Morrison. I've been reviewing the crew's psychological profiles in preparation for alien contact. High-stress situations can affect judgment and decision-making. My judgment is fine. I'm sure it is. But everyone benefits from talking through their concerns before major events. Jake knew what she was doing. She wanted him to admit he was having problems. She wanted him to talk about the wars and the nightmares and the way his hands shook when things got quiet. But talking about it would make it real. And if it was real, then maybe he really was unfit for command. Maybe humanity had sent the wrong man to represent them among the stars. The Zephyrian ship looked like a giant crystal floating in space. It was beautiful and strange, nothing like the metal warships Jake was used to seeing. The alien vessel moved without engines that humans could understand, gliding silently toward the UES horizon. Jake stood in the docking bay, watching through the thick windows as the Zephyrians approached. His security team was positioned around the room, weapons hidden but ready. He had ordered them to stay alert for any sign of trouble. They're requesting permission to dock, said Ryan over the comm system. Ambassador Kethfer sends greetings. To Captain Morrison and the crew of the Horizon, grant them permission, Jake replied. His voice sounded steady, but his heart was racing. He wiped his sweaty palms on his uniform pants. The crystal ship connected to their docking port with a soft musical sound. Jake had never heard anything like it. On Earth, docking was always loud and rough, metal scraping against metal. The airlock opened, and the first Zephyrian stepped through. Ambassador Kethfer was tall and thin, made of what looked like living. Crystal light moved through his body in slow waves, changing colors as he walked. He had no face as humans understood it, but somehow Jake could tell the alien was smiling. Captain Morrison, Kethfer said, his voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. It is an honor to meet the legendary warrior of Earth. Jake stepped forward carefully. Every muscle in his body was tense, ready for action. Welcome aboard the Horizon, Ambassador. Kethfer raised his hands in what appeared to be a greeting gesture. The movement was slow and graceful, but Jake's battle-trained mind saw something else. The position was similar to how enemy soldiers had held their weapons during the Unity campaign. Without thinking, Jake's hand dropped to his sidearm. His fingers closed around the grip, ready to draw and fire in one smooth motion. The room went completely silent. Alex stepped forward quickly, his face pale. Captain. Jake realized what he had done. 20 pairs of human eyes were staring at him. The Zephyrian delegation had stopped moving, their crystal bodies flickering with confused patterns of light. I'm sorry, Jake said. forcing his hand away from his weapon. Old habits. Ambassador Kethfer lowered his hand slowly. The other Zephyrians whispered to each other in their musical language. Jake could not understand the words, but he could hear the worry in their voices. "Perhaps we should move to the conference room," said Alex, trying to save the situation. The diplomatic dinner that evening was a disaster waiting to happen. The mess hall had been decorated with both human and Zephyrian symbols. Chef Martinez had prepared special foods that the aliens could safely consume. Everything looked perfect. Jake sat at the head of the table trying to make conversation, but every time Ambassador Kethfer moved, Jake's eyes tracked the motion. Every time another Zephyrian spoke, Jake listened for signs of deception. "Your ship is very impressive," said Navigator Helen Price, trying to fill the awkward silence. "The crystal technology is unlike anything we've seen." "Thank you," replied Kethfer. "We have been developing our ships for many centuries, are grown rather than built, shaped by harmonic frequencies." Dr. Chang leaned forward with interest. "That's fascinating. How do you control them?" "Through mental connection. Our thoughts guide the ship's movements and functions." Jake's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Mental connection meant telepathy. Telepathy meant the aliens could read minds. Could they see his thoughts right now? Did they know about his plans for ship security? "Captain Morrison seems troubled," observed another Zephyrian named Silthera. "We sense great conflict within." "Him. I'm fine," Jake said quickly. Too quickly, Silthera's crystal body glowed with soft blue light. "We do not mean to intrude, but we feel pain radiating from you like heat from a flame." "What causes such deep wounds?" The question hit Jake. Like a physical blow, he could feel everyone at the table watching him, the Zephyrians, with their alien curiosity. His crew with growing concern, Dr. Chang with her professional interest. "We've all been through difficult times," Alex said, trying to redirect the conversation. Said Kethfer, "We have studied your species' history. So much violence, so many wars. Yet you also show great courage and sacrifice for others." The alien's words were meant to be comforting, but they made Jake feel worse. He stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. The sound was too loud in the quiet room. "Excuse me," he said, and walked out before anyone could stop him. Later, that night, Dr. Chang found Jake in his quarters. He was sitting at his desk, staring at reports he was not really reading. "May I come in?" she asked. Jake did not answer, but he did not tell her to leave either. She took that as permission and sat down across from him. "The Zephyrians are concerned about you," she said gently. "I don't care what they think. They're not judging you, Captain. They're trying to understand. Their species evolved very differently from humans. They've never experienced warfare or violence." Jake looked up from his reports. "Then they don't understand anything about survival. Maybe not, but they understand pain. Silthera is their equivalent of a doctor. She can sense emotional trauma. The way we can see physical injuries. I don't have trauma, have experience." Dr. Chang was quiet for a moment. "Experience with what? With staying alive when everyone else dies?" The words came out harder than Jake intended. "With making decisions that keep your people breathing for one more day? The wars are over, Captain." "No, they're not. There's always another war. Another enemy. Another threat." Jake stood up and walked to the window. Outside the Zephyrian ship glowed peacefully in the darkness of space. "Those aliens want something from us," he said. "No one travels across the galaxy just to be friendly. What if they do? What if they really just want to welcome humanity into their alliance?" Jake turned around, his eyes bright with old pain. "Then we're all going to die." Dr. Chang frowned. "I don't understand, because I don't know how to keep people safe in peacetime. In war, the rules are simple. Kill or be killed. Protect your squad. Complete the mission. But this," he gestured toward the alien ship. "I don't know the rules. I don't know who to trust. I don't know who the real enemy is. There is no enemy. There's always an enemy." The next morning, Jake received a message from Lieutenant Commander Ryan. The Zephyrians had been communicating with other Alliance species about the humans. They were sharing detailed reports about human behavior. In psychology, Jake read the intercepted transmissions with growing anger. The aliens were discussing his mental state with creatures he had never met. They were analyzing his responses and comparing them to other species they had encountered. "They're studying us like lab rats," he told Alex when his second-in-command arrived in his office. "They're trying to understand us," Alex replied. "That's what diplomats do. They're sharing classified information about our crew, about me." Alex sat down heavily. "Jake, there's something else." Dr. Chang filed a report recommending psychological evaluation for the command staff. Jake felt the blood drain from his face. "She what?" "She's concerned about the stress of first contact. It's standard procedure." "It's mutiny is what it is. It's not mutiny. It's medicine." But Jake was not listening anymore. He was thinking about what would happen if Earth Command learned about his problems. They would remove him from command. It would send someone else to handle the aliens, someone who had not fought in the wars, someone who did not understand how dangerous the universe really was, and then humanity would be defenseless. The alarm woke Jake from another nightmare. He rolled out of bed, reaching for his weapon before he was fully awake. His room was dark and quiet, but the red emergency lights were flashing in the hallway outside. "Captain, to the bridge," came Ryan's voice over the comm system. "We have multiple contacts on long-range sensors." Jake was running before Ryan finished speaking. He pulled on his uniform as he moved through the corridors. Other crew members were hurrying to their stations, all looking confused and worried. The bridge was buzzing with activity when Jake arrived. Ryan was bent over the sensor display, his face pale in the green light of the screen. "Port," Jake ordered, his command voice cutting through the noise. 37 ships approaching from the outer rim," said Helen Price from her navigation. "Station, they're big, Captain. It's much bigger than anything we've seen before." Jake moved to the main screen and stared at the sensor readings. The approaching fleet was massive, organized in perfect military formation. His hand started shaking as memories of the Unity campaign flooded back. "How long until they reach us?" he asked. 6 hours at current speed," Helen replied. "Battled. Stations. All hands to combat positions." Alex appeared at Jake's side. "Captain, maybe we should contact the Zephyrians first. They might know who these ships belong to. We don't have time for questions. We need to prepare for attack." "Jake, listen to yourself. You're assuming they're hostile." But Jake was already moving, his training taking over. "Ryan, send a message. To Earth Command, tell them we're under attack by unknown forces. Helen, plot escape routes back to human space. Alex, get our weapons online," Sir Ryan said carefully. "The Zephyrians are requesting to speak with you," Ambassador Kethver says. "The approaching ships belong to something called the Etherian Collective. I don't care what they're called. 37 warships don't come in peace." Dr. Chang entered the bridge looking worried. "Captain, what's happening?" "We're about to be attacked," Jake said, his eyes still fixed on the sensor display. Approaching ships were getting closer, their formation never changing. "The Zephyrians say the Etherians are members of the Alliance," said Ryan. "They're here for the same reason we are, to meet humanity." Jake spun around, his face dark with anger. "And you believe them? How do you know this isn't all planned? How do you know the Zephyrians didn't lead us into a trap?" The bridge went quiet. Everyone was staring at Jake like he had grown a second head. Even Alex looked shocked by the accusation. "Captain," Dr. Chang said gently, "the Zephyrians have been completely honest with us. They've shared their technology and culture. Why would they suddenly betray us? Because that's what everyone does eventually." Jake's voice was getting louder. "They smile and shake hands and promise peace, and then they put a knife in your back when you're not looking." Security Chief Danny Martinez spoke up from his station. "Sir, should I arm the defensive systems?" "Yes, full combat readiness."
"I want
"Every weapon we have pointed at those ships." Alex grabbed Jake's arm. "You're making a mistake. You're letting your fear make decisions for the entire human race." Jake yanked his arm away. "My fear has kept me alive through 3 wars. My fear is the only thing standing between this crew and disaster. This isn't a war zone. Everywhere is a war zone." The shouting match was interrupted by a soft musical. Sound Ambassador Kethver had entered the bridge, his crystal body glowing with worried patterns of light. "Captain Morrison," he said in his wind chime voice. "We sense great distress. The Etherian collective comes in peace, as friends to humanity." Turned on the alien, his hand dropping to his sidearm. "How convenient that your friends show up just when we're vulnerable. How convenient that there are so many of them. The Etherians were warriors once, like humans. They understand the pain of battle. They wish to share their knowledge of healing." Ow. Warriors. Don't heal. Warriors fight. Kethfer's body flickered with sad blue light. "Not all warriors, Captain. Some learn to transform their strength into protection rather than destruction." But Jake was not listening. He was watching the sensor display as the Etherian ships continued their approach. In his mind, he was back in the trenches of the water wars, watching enemy forces surround his position. He was reliving the resource rebellion when peaceful. Negotiations had turned into bloody ambushes. "Red alert," he announced. "All crew to battle stations. Prepare for incoming attack." The bridge exploded into activity as his crew followed orders. Even though they were confused and worried, they trusted their captain's experience. If Jake Morrison said there was danger, there must be danger. Dr. Chang tried one more time. "Captain, please reconsider. Let me contact the ship's medical team. We can help you work through this. I don't need help. I need my crew to stay alive." Jake moved to the weapons station and began charging the ship's defensive systems. The Horizon was not a warship, but it carried enough firepower to defend itself against smaller threats. Against 37 large vessels, they would not last. 10 minutes, Jake. Stop." Alex's voice was desperate now. "You're about to start an interstellar war over nothing." "It's not nothing. It's survival." On the main screen, the Etherian fleet continued its steady approach. Jake studied their formation, looking for weak points and attack vectors. His tactical mind was working at full speed, planning strikes and counterstrikes. But part of him, a small quiet part that sounded like Dr. Chang, wondered if Alex was right. The approaching ships had made no threatening moves. They had not powered weapons or demanded surrender. They were simply flying toward the diplomatic meeting in perfect formation. Jake pushed the doubt away. Doubt got people killed. "Incoming transmission," announced Ryan. "It's from the lead Etherian ship." On screen, Jake ordered, the view screen filled with an alien face, unlike anything they had seen before. Their being looked ancient and wise, with skin like polished stone and eyes that glowed with inner light. "Greetings, humans of Earth," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Elder Morthic, of the Etherian Collective, come to welcome you to the Alliance of Peaceful Worlds." Jake studied the alien's face, looking for signs of deception. The being's expression was calm and patient, showing no aggression. "We know of your Captain Morrison," Elder Morthic continued. "His reputation as a warrior precedes him. We hope to share with him the wisdom we have learned about transforming the skills of war into the tools of peace." "How do they know about me?" Jake demanded, turning to face his crew. Ryan checked his communications panel. "The Zephyrians must have shared our personnel files with the Alliance." Jake felt betrayed and exposed. These aliens knew about his military. Record his battles, probably his problems too. They had been studying him like a specimen in a laboratory. "Sir," said Helen from her station, "the Etherian ships are slowing down. They're maintaining distance and not approaching any further." "Could be a trick," Jake said, but his voice lacked conviction. Dr. Chang stepped closer. "Captain, when was the last time you slept, really slept, without nightmares?" Jake could not remember. The nightmares came every time he closed his eyes. Faces of dead soldiers, burning cities, the sound of gunfire and screaming. "I sleep fine," he lied. "No, you don't. And your exhaustion is affecting your judgment." Jake wanted to argue, but he was too tired. The weight of command, the pressure of representing humanity, the constant fear of making the wrong choice, it was all crushing. Down on him at once. On the screen, Elder Morthic waited patiently for a response, his glowing eyes full of understanding. Elder Morthic came aboard the Horizon alone, wearing no weapons and moving with the slow grace of someone very old and very wise. Jake met him in the conference room, still tense but no longer reaching for his sidearm every few seconds. "Look tired, Captain Morrison," the elder said as he sat down across from Jake. His voice was deep and calm, like distant thunder. "I'm fine," Jake replied automatically. "No, you are not. And that is perfectly normal for someone who has seen what you have seen." Jake studied the alien's face. Elder Morthic looked different from the Zephyrians. They were crystalline light. He was stone and strength. But his eyes held the same gentleness. "The Zephyrians told you about my problems," Jake said. "Told us about your pain. There is a difference." Dr. Chang and Ambassador Kethfer sat at the far end of the table watching quietly. They had agreed to let Elder Morthic talk to Jake alone, hoping the ancient alien might succeed where they had failed. "My people were warriors once," Elder Morthic continued. "For thousands of years, we fought anyone who came near our world. We were very good at it. We won every battle. Then why did you stop?" "Because we realized that winning battles was not the same as winning peace." Jake leaned back in his chair. "Peace doesn't last. Someone always breaks it eventually. You are correct. Peace is fragile. That is why it needs guardians." Guardians. Elder Morthic smiled, and for a moment he looked less ancient and more grandfatherly. Warriors who have learned to protect rather than destroy? Soldiers who use their skills to build instead of tear down? Jake felt something loosen in his chest. Just a little, how do you do that? Is first you must accept that the war inside your mind is real. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. The words hit Jake like a physical blow. For months, he had been telling everyone he was fine. He had been hiding his nightmares, his shaking hands, his constant fear. He had been pretending that. Surviving 3 wars had not changed him. "I see them every night," Jake said quietly. "My soldiers who died. I dream about the battles, and when I wake up I forget where I am." "Good," said Elder Morthic. "Good, you remember them. It means you cared about their lives. That caring is what made you a good leader, and it is what will make you a good protector of peace." Dr. Chang leaned forward slightly. Jake had never talked about his nightmares with her, despite her many attempts to help. "But the dreams make me weak," Jake said. "They make me see enemies where there are none."
How the dreams
"Make you human," Elder Morthic replied. "And being human is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength." Over the next 3 days, Elder Morthic worked with Jake and Dr. Chang to develop new ways of handling his trauma. The aliens shared techniques his people had learned over centuries of transforming from warriors to peacekeepers. "Your hypervigilance served you well in battle," the elder explained during one session. "Now we must teach it to serve peace." Instead of seeing every stranger as a potential enemy, Jake learned to see them as someone who might need protection. Instead of planning attacks, he began planning defenses. His warrior instincts did not disappear, but they found new purposes. The breakthrough came on the 4th day, when long-range sensors detected something genuinely dangerous. "Captain, we're picking up an unknown ship on the edge of the system," Ryan reported from the bridge. "It's not responding to our signals." Jake studied the sensor readings with his usual careful attention. But this time, instead of panic, he felt focused clarity. The ship was small, fast, and heavily armed. Its approach vector was designed to avoid detection. These were the movements of someone with hostile intent. "Red alert," Jake announced. "But maintain diplomatic protocols." Ryan, "Send a warning to the unknown vessel. Tell them they're entering a peaceful diplomatic zone." "Should we power weapons?" asked Danny Martinez. Jake considered the question carefully. His old instincts screamed for immediate attack, but his new training suggested a different approach. "Defensive systems only. Position our ships to protect the Zephyrian and Etherian vessels, but do not take aggressive action." On the main screen, the unknown ship continued its approach. It was sleek and dark, built for speed and stealth. Jake's tactical mind identified it as a raider vessel, probably looking for valuable technology to steal. "No response to our warnings," Ryan reported. Elder Morthic appeared on the bridge, moving with surprising speed for his age. "The ship belongs to a group called the Dominion. They're not part of the Alliance, hostile?" Jake asked. "Very much so." Ambassador Kethfer arrived moments later, his crystal body flickering with worried light. Captain Morrison, the Dominion, seeks to disrupt peaceful meetings. They believe strength comes only through conquest. Jake nodded, feeling strangely calm. For the first time in months, he was facing a real threat instead of an imagined one. His training and experience finally had a proper focus. Let's coordinate with the alien ships. I want a defensive formation that protects everyone while showing our peaceful intent. Understood, Captain. Helen plot escape routes for all vessels, starting with the least armed. Already working on it, sir. Jake watched the unknown ship approach, but he was not seeing it through the lens of his old trauma. He was seeing it as a problem to be solved, a challenge that required both strength and wisdom. Ryan, open a channel to the Dominion vessel. The screen flickered, showing the bridge of the raider ship. The alien captain was reptilian, with cold eyes and sharp teeth. He looked exactly like the kind of enemy Jake had been expecting to find. I am Captain Morrison of the human vessel Horizon, Jake said calmly. You are entering a diplomatic zone. Change course immediately. The reptilian captain hissed, something that might have been laughter. Humans, the Alliance has made you soft. Surrender your technology, and we will let you live.
Ow.
Jake felt his old anger rise, but he controlled it. This is your final warning. Leave now, or we will defend ourselves. You cannot stop us. We are the strong, and you are the weak. The transmission ended. On the sensor display, the Dominion ship began charging its weapons. All ships, defensive positions, Jake ordered. Protect the diplomatic vessels, but do not fire unless fired upon. The battle was brief, but intense. The Dominion ship was fast and well-armed, but it was outnumbered and outmaneuvered. Jake coordinated the defense with precision, using his tactical skills to protect rather than destroy. When the raider ship finally retreated, Jake felt something he had not experienced in years. Peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the knowledge that he had used his abilities for the right reasons. He had protected innocent people. He had preserved a chance for peace between species. Well done, Captain, said Elder Morthic. You have learned the difference between a warrior and a guardian. 3 months later, Jake stood in his new office. On the Alliance diplomatic station, the sign on his door read, Director of Interspecies Security. His job was to protect the peaceful meetings and negotiations that kept the Alliance together. He still had nightmares sometimes. He still jumped at unexpected sounds, but Dr. Chang worked with him regularly. The alien healers had taught him new ways to manage his trauma. Most importantly, he had found a new purpose. His experiences in Earth's wars had not been meaningless suffering. They had prepared him for this moment when humanity needed someone who understood both the cost of war and the value of peace. Jake opened his personal log and began his daily entry. A captain's log. Start 8. 2387.156. Today we welcomed 2 new species to the Alliance. The negotiations went smoothly, with no security incidents. Tomorrow we begin talks with the Centauri Federation about trade agreements. He paused, looking out at the stars through his office window. Somewhere out there, other young soldiers were fighting their own wars, carrying their own trauma, wondering if the pain would ever end. Personal note, he continued. Healing is not about forgetting the past. It is about using the past to build a better future. The wars I survived were not the end of my story. They were the beginning. Jake closed the log and prepared for his next meeting. There was work to do, peace to protect, and hope to build among the stars.